My name is Manuel Gonzalez, and I'm here today to give you a presentation on poetry. Now, I don't know what you already know about poetry, but sometimes when I think of poetry, I roll my eyes and get worried, like, oh, it's going to be a boring one. I promise you, today's not about being boring. Today is about looking within ourselves and figuring out what our truths are, because our truths is the message that we have to give the world, and I'm excited to share that with you. Today's exercise is for anybody 10 years old or over. I'd say that's like what, fifth grade and above. I think it works because this one is not only fun, it's easy, and so it'll be good when we get to that point. What we're going to do is we're going to be thinking about and writing about the things that we hold to be true in our hearts and those kind of things. And I'm going to share with you some poems that demonstrate that. All you're really going to need is something to write on and something to write with. Some of us still use pencils and paper. Some of us use computers and Word documents and all those kind of things. Whatever you got, that's cool. Get it out now because you're going to need it. Now, let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm Albuquerque Poet Laureate and Emeritus, and that just means a couple years ago I was the representative of poetry to Albuquerque, and I was the representative of Albuquerque when it comes to poetry, when I would travel around everywhere. And I wrote a poem that was a little bit about what it felt like to be the Albuquerque Poet Laureate to me, and I titled this poem Represent. I represent my home, homeboy, home man. I'm the poet laureate of Burque, young man with tears that are dripped onto pages. My emotional release becomes my art, claiming my identity. I represent a city. An ancestry where we honor and feed our spirits with heart beating, breathing, dealing in the currency of signs and symbols. I represent the words, the streets, the blood, the people, history and culture, conquest and colonization, carnalismo and Chicano slang, New Mexico dialect, sangre and tierra, abuelitas tortillas. I represent holding a place for us to come together and heal. Thank you. Now, that's poetry. See, some of you who don't know about poetry, poetry is just like some artists use paint to paint a portrait, some artists use clay to make a sculpture. Poets use words, and that's how we express ourselves in that way. That's how we look within ourselves and start figuring out who we are, where we come from, what we represent, and what things in the world all put together make us who we are. And so that's what we're going to be doing today together. We're going to write a poem about what we hold to be true. Okay, I got a couple other poems that I wanted to share with you before we got to that point. Now, sometimes when I do this writing workshop, sometimes when I do this exercise, I do it inside jails and prisons. And I like to go inside the jails and prisons where they're young people that are incarcerated. I mean, people under 18 years of age that are in jail. And I do this workshop, the same kind of writing workshop that I'm doing with you right now. This is what I do inside jails. And sometimes these young people come into the room not knowing what to expect. And so I wrote a poem about it. And it's called Walls Up and Protected. And it's dedicated to all incarcerated children. They come into the room skeptical and guarded, and we introduce ourselves to each other. To them, this is routine habit. I'm looking for a reason to praise them, hoping that I can help them to open up and talk and share their truths. After we get to know each other a little bit, I get to introduce them to poetry. Poetry is an art form that either they don't know or they have bad connotations of. I get to be the first one to grab their hearts and squeeze and show them the power of this art form that I've learned to love so much. Poetry. With life and emotion, I tell stories of pain and heartache, reality and hope. With each poem, their walls start coming down, and at that perfect moment when they start vibrating, I give them a paper and a pen. And I ask them to begin to let their floodgates open, and what they write is raw and real. It's emotions. It's viscerally moving stories of mean streets, broken families, and crazy bravado mixed with powerful vulnerability. I get to watch as they learn to use simile and metaphor to protect the parts that get exposed when we express ourselves in this way, forcing them to find their power somewhere other than the barrel of a gun or their knuckles. First, I had to earn their trust by going there myself and bringing back tears and show them that even a strong man cries sometimes. They feel my catharsis and they see that it's okay for us to show our emotions, to be compassionate, to stand up against injustice. I speak directly to the warrior spirit within them, showing sincerity, and they know it. I give them some gimmicky writing exercise involving looking within themselves and writing about what they see there. And they begin to define themselves by telling their stories, looking for the broken or sore spots in their hearts. And they begin to heal. Together, we learn that this is the healthiest way to heal. This is how we stop making those same mistakes over and over again. This is how we learn. This is how we find the lessons that we need to learn. Mirror reflection, introspection, poetry, and healing. Thank you. See, sometimes there's parts in our hearts that carry scars and bruises from things that happen to us, and sometimes we don't talk about those things. Sometimes we take those things and we push them way down deep. And if you do that, if you take things that hurt you, or take things that you're embarrassed of, or take things that you don't really want to talk about, and you push them down deep inside of you, that inside of you part can get hot and heavy and hard to carry, and eventually it'll explode and you'll find yourself out doing males or bad things like that. And it's not because you're a bad person, it's because you didn't deal with those things that we all carry in our heart in that way. And some of us even carry those bruises in our heart from things that happened before we were even born. We call that ancestral trauma. And those are the things that sometimes we got to write about and paint about and dance about and get out in some way so that they don't stay inside of us and turn sick. That's why poetry for me was a beautiful way for me to express myself, for me to figure out who I am and why I feel the way I feel. It makes it so that I can learn to heal those things and then in turn share that healing with other people. Because this is how you, in a positive way, deal with negative emotions sometimes. And we all have them, and it's okay. Now, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be writing about truth. And when I say writing about truth, I'm talking about, I want you to look within yourself and maybe try to think of things that you hold to be true. Maybe it's things that you've seen on the news that you didn't like. Maybe it's things that you've seen in the world that you wish you could change. Maybe it's stuff that you know to be true and you need to stand up and let the world know that we can't hurt the earth and the environment is important. Or justice and treating each other as equals is important. Or whatever it is that you hold in your heart to be true, that's what we're going to be writing about today. Now, this is my first example of a truth poem. This kind of follows the prompt, the rules of the poem that we're about to do, but I'm doing it for you first. I can't talk today. The reason I'm reading this to you first is because it shows that you can take the examples and the prompts that I give you and you can do whatever you want with them. What I want is for you to write something real, for you to write something sincere, for you to write something genuine in that way. This was my attempt at writing my truth. The truth is sometimes painful, but it's always necessary. It's necessary to clean out the wounds in order for our hearts to heal properly. Do it properly, and you won't have to do it again. Once again, I find myself searching my soul for the silence, silence that reveals purpose. My purpose is to struggle and survive. Is survival my only reward? It's rewarding to see people evolve into compassionate beings of light, the same light that shines from our hearts into our verses, our poetry. Our verses become more than just words. The words become incantations, incantations that heal and mend our hearts, mend and strengthen. This is where I find strength. Thank you. All right, you guys, now check this out. The reason I shared that poem with you because it's an example of the exercise we're about to do, me and you. That's what I'm saying. That's what we're here to do. Now, when it's time for me to start writing, one of the hardest things for me to do is to begin. Looking at a blank sheet of paper always freaks me out, and it's hard for me to pull those ideas out of the sky. And I look at that blank sheet of paper and I start to think, I don't know what to write. I don't think I can write nothing. And the little voice in my head starts saying those things to me. So for me, sometimes the easiest way to begin is just breaking that blank page and turning it into something with words on it. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I want everybody to write down this sentence. I want you to write down, I'm here today to speak the truth. I'm here today to speak the truth. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the end of every sentence, the last word, the last few words, it don't matter, just the end of every sentence, and that's going to be the beginning of the next sentence. So that sentence you wrote was, I'm here today to speak the truth. The next sentence will begin with the phrase, the truth. And then however you finish that sentence, that's going to be the beginning of your next sentence. And you just keep doing it, and you let like the words flow out of your pencil. You trust your pencil because your pencil won't do you wrong. You got to just keep writing whatever pops into your head. It doesn't have to flow. I mean, it doesn't have to have any kind of meter to it or have any kind of rhythm. It doesn't have to rhyme, but it can rhyme if you want it to. It don't even have to make sense. What's important is that you keep writing, and what you write is connected in some way to what you believe to be true. Now, I did this exercise over and over again with classrooms and detention centers and community centers and places, and every time I would write with the students. And so I published a few of the ones that I wrote, and I'm going to share some of them with you now. They're all titled Today because they all begin with that, I'm here today to speak the truth. The truth is we all struggle. Struggle makes us stronger, and we get strength by not giving in to all those temptations and vices that just hold us back. Back in the day, I made my mistakes, but I learned to speak with my words instead of my knuckles. Knuckles that have been bloodied and bruises by battling demons that know my fears. I know my fears are just an illusion in my mind. My mind creates poetry in order to heal not only myself, but those in need of healing. True healing comes from within. Within each and every one of us is power. The power to change not only our own realities, but to master our destiny. All right, you guys, I know there's some big words in that, and that's okay, because sometimes when we listen to poetry, we hear things that we may not understand right now in the moment, but as we go on this path of our lives, we start to find more interesting truths in the poetry that we learned before, or the stuff that we wrote when we were young. I got more, and I'm going to share them with you because I like these ones, and they're all I'm doing. They're all the same. All I did was I wrote a sentence, and then I took the end of that sentence and made it the beginning of the next sentence. Now, you don't even worry about that, because in just a few minutes, we're going to sit down at the table, and I'm going to write a brand new one with you, and you're going to write a brand new one with me, and that's going to be the reason we're here together today. Now, number 2 goes like this. I'm here today to speak the truth. The truth is, shadows run from the light. The light of day expels the darkness that exists within us all. All of humanity breathes. Our breath is one of the places that we can find power, the power to change our lives, to change the world. The world evolves with each trip around the sun, and the sun that keeps our daydreams warm. Dreaming while awake is the best way to find inspiration, inspiration that can move the hearts of wounded people, the wounded that are in need of healing, the healing that comes from within. Within all of us is this power, the power to change the world. So change the world. Thank you. All right, we're going to keep doing this. I got a few of them. And the reason I'm sharing these with you is because I want you to know that this is easier than you think. All you got to do is finish the sentence that's already begun for you. All you got to do is find the end of each sentence with every phrase or every word that you want to use and begin the next sentence in that way. Because I'm here today to speak the truth. The truth is the most powerful weapon. My weapon is my mind. My mind is filled with dreams, dreams of beauty. The most beautifulest thing in this world is love. Love for our family, our people, our culture. Culture is the beauty that we create. We create our own realities. We create our own realities. Reality is sometimes a hard thing to look at. I look into the eyes of spirit storms searching for calm. The calm is broken by thunder. Thunder is heartbreaks and lightning fast fears. I fear the sunshine because I've befriended my shadows. My shadows are getting old. I'm too old already to hold myself down like this. Thank you. See, we got lots of them, and I'm not going to take you through all of them, but if you are ever interested in reading them, I have a book called Homeboy, which is kind of a play on the word homeboy, but if you like it, check it out. All right, you guys, now it's time for us to start writing, and that's always fun. I think it's always cool because that's the time where we get to start putting our ideas out. This is where we start to really figure out what we think, how we feel, why we feel that way. So I'm going to invite everybody to find whatever you're going to use to be writing with today. I'm using my personal journal because this is where I like to do my best writing. And on the first part, I wrote the word truth. And then I underlined it because that's important to me. And I wanted, before I start writing exactly what I'm going to write in, I want to think about things that I believe to be true. And sometimes for me, they're really big things like the environment. I-R-O-N. See, I can't spell too good either. I don't smell too good all the time, but sometimes I spell and smell good, and I think today I did it okay. Another thing that I put on that I believe to be true is justice. And justice is like things that are wrong need to be made right in some way. And since I work a lot with people that are incarcerated or in jail in some way, and mostly with young people that are in jail, I deal with a lot of people that are in the justice system. And so I believe that one of my truths that I hold in my heart is that there is justice and justice can be found. Another thing I believe in is integrity. Integrity is knowing the difference between right and wrong and choosing the right thing. No, it's like finding a wallet full of money and then giving it back to the person that lost their wallet, but with all the money in it and everything and like that. That's integrity. Integrity is who you are when nobody else is looking and when nobody else is there to tell you how to be. That's integrity. These are things that I hold to be truth. But see, since I have these big ideas in my head of the truth that I hold in my heart in that way, they don't always have to be like that. Sometimes truth can be how delicious grandma's tortillas are. I think that's something that's true. Or I think it's true that the sky is blue. I think it's true. I haven't had breakfast yet and it's getting close to lunchtime. I think it's true that green chili is delicious. Do you guys like green chili? I do. Now these on this list are just things to, I don't even have to write green chili is delicious. I know it is. And this is my list. So I wrote green chili just to remind me of what that thing is. Now, I put a few things on here that I believe to be true. I want you to make a list of things that you believe to be true. It could be like things that I believe summertime is hot. I believe Christmas time is my favorite holiday. There's no wrong way to do it. I believe I love my mom's hugs, and when she hugs me when I'm feeling bad, it makes me feel better. But if I'm making a list like you're making a list, I don't need to write all of that. I can just write mom's hugs because I know what I mean when I write mom's hugs. And, you know, I'm going to write that down. That was a good one. Hugs. Okay, these are things that I feel to be true. I want you to make a list of at least 7 things that you hold to be true. Pause your video and do it now. All right, you guys, I hope you made your list. Now, on a separate piece of paper or a different part of the paper you're working with now or whatever, I want you to write this sentence. I am here today to speak the truth. Write it down. I am here today to speak the truth. And then I want you to take the end of the sentence. Here I have the and truth. That's going to be the beginning of my next sentence. So I put the and truth to be the beginning of the next sentence. And then, well, I already got a sentence started there, so let's finish this sentence. The one I wrote is, the truth is, let me think of a good one. The truth is, autumn. I think I spelled that wrong. Autumn is approaching. Okay, now I want you to write a sentence that begins with the phrase, the truth is. It can be, the truth is, my favorite candy is Skittles. The truth is, my grandma makes good meatloaf. The truth is, sometimes I get sad. I don't know. Whatever truth you have, let's start. And if you don't know what to write, look at your list. There's something on that list that you could write about. Write your sentence now. Go. Okay, now that you wrote your first sentence, I want you to take the last word or the last phrase of the sentence you wrote, and that'll be the beginning of your next sentence. The sentence that I wrote was, the truth is, autumn is approaching. And I'm going to say, approaching like, what are things that approach? And I'm thinking of things that like creep in, like things that are unexpected, like come in the back door, like come in, like I'm gonna say approaching like a wolf. Ooh, I like that one because wolves sometimes approach. Now I want you to finish your sentence with whatever you have, and whatever you write is okay. Trust your pencil, it won't do you wrong. This one is, the truth is, autumn is approaching like a wolf. My next sentence is going to begin with what? What do you think I would begin my next sentence with? Yeah, a wolf. I'm going to change it up a little bit because this is my poem and I can do what I want because I'm writing it. I'm going to put a hungry wolf. A hungry wolf trying not to be seen. Now comes a part where we can do something cool. Now, when you end a sentence with the phrase, you can begin your next sentence with whatever form of that phrase you want. And you can even put your own words in front of it if you want to. I'm going to put a hungry wolf trying not to be seen. And I'm going to put, I saw the sunrise over the mountains. See how the sentence here ended with to be seen. I began the next sentence with I saw, because it's the same kind of thing with seen. And as long as you keep writing, as long as you keep your pencil moving, that's okay. Now, I don't know what to write next. But I'm going to put the mountains majestic and purple. Oh, you know why I did that? Because there's a song about America that talks about the purple mountains majesty, and I think it's cool to put the mountains majestic and purple. And I'm spelling things wrong, but that's okay, because we can deal with spell check later. Now I have the word purple, and I get to think of something that's purple that I really like, and I don't know what it is, but it's when it comes to me, I'm gonna write it down. But what I want you to do is to write your next sentence that begins the way the sentence before it ended. And then I want you to do it again. And then I want you to do it again. And then I want you to do it again until you filled your page with sentences. And this can be almost like that song that doesn't end, you know, it can keep on going forever and ever. So you got to figure out a way to make it end as you get to the bottom of your page. I'm going to invite you to pause your video and write whatever pops into your mind until you get to the bottom of your page. If you don't know what to write, try to write something from your sentences here. I got the word purple, and I'm going to say purple like the sky at sunset. Now, I want you to pause your video until you get to the end of your page, writing sentences that begin the way the sentence before it ended. And I'm going to do the same. And then when we meet back here together again, I'm going to share with you the poem that I finished with you today. Go. Welcome back, you guys. Now, I'm glad you guys wrote something. And sometimes when we sit down and we write something that we feel to be true, something that's important to us, something that's sincere, what's the most important part of it is to share it with other people. You gotta let people know who you are. You gotta let people know how you think. You gotta show that this is a way that you found is a good way to write about your thoughts and your feelings. And maybe somebody else might hear you do it and it'll give them the ticket to go write about their own thoughts and feelings. So today we wrote about truth. And I'm going to share with you what I finished. I want you to take what you wrote and share it with somebody else. This is the one that I wrote. I'm here today to speak the truth. And the truth is, autumn is approaching, approaching like a wolf, a hungry wolf trying not to be seen. I saw the sun rise over the mountains majestic and purple, purple like the sky at sunset. The sun sets and it makes the sky light on fire. There's a fire in my heart. My heart pumps blood. My blood carries the spirits of my ancestors. My ancestors speak to me. They speak to me when my mind is silent. Silence is the key. Keys unlock doors. The doors open to a new opportunity, an opportunity to change. Change is the only thing that stays the same. Thank you. Now see, that's the one I wrote. And all I really did, it may sound crazy, but all I really did was write sentences that begin the way the sentence before it ended. And that's what I asked you to do. So I'm very excited to hear that you did a good job. I want you to share what you wrote with your teachers, with your parents, or anybody in your family that's willing to listen to you, to your friends, to show them that your brain is working and your heart is pumping and there's feelings inside there. Ooh, feelings. I want you to share your poems with anybody who will listen, because that's how we keep this going, how we keep this movement moving, how we keep sharing the poetry that we write with other people so that they can share the poetry that they wrote with other people too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for writing. And thank you for writing something sincere, authentic, and amazing. Thank you. Okay, you guys, you just wrote a poem. And in that poem, you wrote about things that you hold to be true. What you did was you took the sentence, I'm here today to speak the truth, and then just took that sentence and see where it took you. You followed it. You took the end of every sentence and made it the beginning of the sentence after it. And after you did that, and you did it a few times, it started to get a rhythm until you could just write sentences and they fell out until you finished almost a whole page. I'm proud of you. Good job. Now, I want you to take those poems that you wrote and find somebody that's willing to let you say them to them and recite your poems to your friends, your family, to those around you who want to hear how you feel inside. Because the best part of writing a poem is sharing it with someone else. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for writing. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad you wrote something real and something true. Let's come back and do it again. Thank you.